lot of us are familiar with the popular Netflix series Stranger Things, but what a lot of people don't realize is that this show is based off of true events. It's based off the Montauk Project, where the government would kidnap and experiment on psychic children. So yes, demigorgons, they're real, and I'll touch more on that in a second. There's a base on Long Island where the US government conducted experiments that included mind control, telekinesis, time travel, and teleportation. They would put kids in a chair that would enhance the psychic abilities of those who sat in it. Some were able to open portals to other dimensions. One of the kids had the ability to manifest objects with his mind using this device. He was able to materialize a monstrous beast out of his subconscious mind. The project came to an end immediately after this incident. In July 2008, an unidentifiable creature washed up on the shores of Montauk. Some believe it was the body of a raccoon or dog. Others believe it was part of an experiment from the nearby Plum Island, which has a restricted government lab that studies diseased animals. It's believed that this is where Lyme disease originated from, and I'll cover that in another video. Was Lyme disease a man-made virus? If you're into conspiracy theories, this one's pretty interesting. And to understand this theory, we have to go back to the end of World War II, when the United States secretly recruited Nazi scientists to help with America's security interests. They wanted to create a biological weapon using insects, so they recruited top Nazi scientist Erich Traub, a German veterinary and virologist who specialized in hand, foot, and mouth disease. He was sent to Plum Island to work with the U.S. Army Chemical Corps. In 1969, it was transferred over to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for its current use. Some claim that a man-made strain of Borrelia burgdorferi escaped the laboratory on Plum Island. It was discovered in 1975 in the town of Lyme, Connecticut, which isn't too far from Plum Island. Scientists claim they kill animals here to prevent the spread of diseases. Strange creatures wash up on the nearby shores of Plum Island. No one truly knows what goes on at this facility, but I'm curious to know, what do you all think? Let's talk about MK Ultra. This was a secret CIA brainwashing program that started in the 1950s. The CIA successfully figured out how to master the art of mind control. They experimented on sex workers, prisoners, people with terminal illness, and foster children. Many of the subjects had no idea that they were even part of this experiment. They would hypnotize and load these subjects with LSD to see the effects that they had on the mind. They would also torture these subjects nearly to death, which led to trauma-based mind controlling. They figured out that you could fracture a subject's mind so that they would have a split personality disorder. Then they would insert a new mind into the void. They could program you to be an assassin. This was their main objective. They wanted to control people who could kill on command. It's noted that this is why the Manson murders occurred. Charles Manson was at the same prison that they targeted for MK Ultra. Subjects would commit these acts of murder and have no memory or moral compass of what occurred. It's noted that there are many celebrities who are under the influence of MK Ultra. What's even more crazy is that the CIA tried to destroy every document pertaining to MK Ultra. The only reason we know about it is because of the information that was accidentally found on financial documents as well as eyewitness accounts. This is a conspiracy theory that turned out to be true. Weather modification. A lot of people don't realize this, but our government can in fact control the weather. And they have been doing this since the Vietnam War. Do y'all remember the scene in Forrest Gump where he said one day it just started raining and it didn't quit for 4 months? Well, that was because Operation Popeye. Oh, sorry, wrong picture. Operation Popeye was a highly classified attempt to increase the monsoon season over Vietnam. They polluted the clouds with silver and lead iodine to increase the rainfall. Operation Popeye was sponsored by Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, the CIA, and the U.S. taxpayers. U.S. taxpayers paid over $3.6 million for an operation they had no idea they were even funding. Essentially, the U.S. tried to play the role of Mother Nature to slow down the Vietnamese through weather modification, and still lost. Eventually, the federal government would declassify its Popeye documents. The United Nations set laws that prohibited any country from altering the weather. But we all know they're still doing it. Are oil companies purposely suppressing technology for greed? With oil being a dwelling resource, the fear of it reaching a peak continues to haunt the oil industry. One would imagine that someone would have came up with an alternative solution by now. What's interesting is the ones who do usually end up dead. Stan Meyer successfully invented a car that was fueled by water. He ended up being sued by the oil industry and mysteriously died not too much longer afterwards. Tom Ogle created a system that did away with the car's carburetor so that the car can only run on fumes. This resulted in fuel efficiency up to 100 miles per gallon as well as less pollution from the engine exhaust. He took a car full of scientists from El Paso, Texas to Denman, New Mexico with only 2 gallons. If you're not familiar with this trip, this is over 100 miles. When he tried to patent this concept, he was sued by General Motors. They claimed they had something similar to this but weren't putting it on the market. Instead of making millions, Tom Ogle ended up broke. In 1981, he was found dead. The cause of death was suicide. The mystery surrounding his death makes many people wonder,